Hey everyone, welcome back to Bear's Workshop. We are here with Financial Journey to discuss Lucid and what is going on with them. We got the quarter two earnings coming up in a couple of days, so we wanted to do a little preview of that. So, how you doing, Mr. Journey?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. So we wanted to talk about a couple things, and I'm going to get your opinion, give you my opinion, and we'll see what comes out of it. And anybody have any questions or comments, you can put them in the comments below. But this is not live, so we'll both be around to answer these questions at some point. But here we go. So first and foremost, let's talk about production numbers. Where do you think that they're going to be? Production and delivery numbers.
Typically, I think I've been a little bit too optimistic in the past. Where I would like to put it would be around 1,700, and that's largely based on a kind of a tweet or a picture of a tweet showing 2,257 vehicles, or that being the delivery number. So if you subtract what happened in Q1 and Q4, that would leave roughly about 1,700. So I would put it maybe about 1,700 as far as delivered, produced. Based on your flyovers, that gives a lot of good insight. So I would probably say maybe about 1,800, 1,900. But again, I don't want to get too kind of out there.
Okay. And my view on it is more conservative. I'm gonna because I've had guesses that were way too high in the past. I'm gonna go with something probably more like I think my guess is 937 for delivered, and for produced, roughly since we've mostly had about 200 to 300 cars in the parking lot, I'm gonna take about a 250 number higher because those cars have been produced, but they haven't been delivered, and so I'm gonna go with around 1250, 1200 to 1250 produced. We had that recall that was in there, so I think that slowed things down a bit as far as getting them delivered. And so I'm going to just play it conservative, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope everyone who's got the higher guess is right. We did a little contest on my page with our Lucid videos. If whoever guesses closest to the production number and the delivery numbers gets a car up there. I've got cars for everybody, so I ordered about, I think, 10 off of eBay, fairly cheap, but I'm going to mail them out to who's ever the closest. So
Oh,
just
nice.
just for fun, a $2 car, but you know, it,
Well, even if you are even generally right, I think on a quarter by quarter basis, it still shows a pretty good improvement. So,
yes, I do think it's an improvement. I think it is the second half. It's when they said they were going to be ramping up, and it is at the beginning of the second half. So we're hoping to see more car haulers there every day. Uh, doesn't mean that if we don't see one that they're not delivering, because we're only there for a very small snapshot in time. And they have delivered cars or picked up cars at night. There's been pictures on the internet of a car hauler at nighttime at the Lucid factory picking up cars. So just because we don't catch them doesn't mean that there hasn't been cars picked up every day. Of course, on the flip side of that, it doesn't mean that there are car haulers there. So we got to look at it from both angles. So
yeah.
those snapshots every couple of days are not good enough to get a car count. Now, if I know that in Shanghai, Tesla Shanghai at one point, they were filming the exit door, or as I call the birthing canal of cars, and they were recording new cars coming out every 45 seconds. And based off of something like that, you can get a good number. Lucid's production is not that quick, where we're going to sit there and count a car every hour, or every 2 hours, or every 30 minutes, or every minute. They're not at the every minute stage right now. So we can't really get a good count. But if you see a car produced every 45 seconds, it's kind of easy to extrapolate those numbers and go out and go, this is how many they're producing. And I think they
Yeah.
ended up getting a good count when they did that. And they got,
Yeah, it's definitely not that easy with Lucid. That's why even first couple last two quarters as well, it's just all over the place. Some people think it's 100, some people think it's 1,000. I think people they'll always be that case. Very bearish, very bullish kind of options, and yeah.
yeah. Right now, I'm just going to play it safe. So let's talk about earnings. Where do you think we're going to be on earnings?
Personally, not to be too negative, I think generally it's going to have a lot of negative attributes of it. But I think what investors typically want to care about is production. So earnings per share, I think the estimates based on analysts is going to be actually a little bit worse than Q1. And even over and above that, it's I think revenue might be up a little bit because Lucid did incentivize people to jump over, convert their reservation to actual orders. So you might see a little bit of an extra increase in revenue that analysts maybe didn't really forecast. So that might be fairly good, but I think generally speaking, it'll all come down to production. Pretty much, I don't know. Then, of course, there's future guidance. That's a whole different cat in the bag. There's a lot of different things they could talk on. But I think overall, investors just need to also take a step back and realize this is the first year of production. So
Yeah, and there has to be some patience. I know we had talked briefly before. It's very difficult to create a car company from scratch. We had briefly talked on that movie Tucker, and it was a guy named Tucker who built a car called the Tucker back in the 50s. There was a Hollywood movie made on it where a guy tried to make this car with a lot of innovations that weren't around at the time, like safety glass in the windshield, seat belts, and the other car companies hated him, and they went after him, and they were able to get him shut down through lobbyists and political corruption and things like that. And I don't know how true the movie is to actual fact, but according to the movie, they destroyed the guy. And there hasn't been a new car company started from scratch. I mean, like a car company like Saturn doesn't count, or Geo. These are all subsidiaries of other companies. So it's very hard to do. Tesla was the first one, and I was surprised to see them succeed at first because of the shenanigans that go on. So hats off to them. Lucid is working on it. They're doing their thing. They're gonna. It looks like they're gonna make it. You got Rivian, also same thing. They're putting it out there. So it's nice to see. Um, so where was I leading with that?
I guess I guess what's your take on earnings?
Well, my take on earnings is I'm going to leave that up to people like you. You're Sir Financial. I'm the flyover guy,
I
and
like that, Sir Financial.
yeah, I get a good take on what the production is, and that's what I'm looking for, and that is what I want to see. I do want to see production numbers. I do want to see things like that. So I think that is something that uh, it's important. It's very important. They're succeeding at it. So as far as an investor, I'm less concerned with the numbers because I don't expect them to come close on their margins. I don't expect them to be profitable. I still think that they're probably not going to be profitable until 2025, and I think that's where the general consensus is. So I'm not worried about that. I'm worried about them being able to complete the factory. I'm not really worried about that. They're actually going very strong with the factory construction. I'm worried about suppliers, and I think that's the short term risk right now, is being able to get enough supplies. One thing I'm looking for on the earnings call is for them to restate their production goals for this year, the 12 to 14,000. That is my big thing. I want them to say that they're on track, that they've got their suppliers lined up for 12 to 14,000 cars. That might be difficult. We're going to have to see. Nicholas sandbagged their numbers for production goals for the year at 300 to 500. I think because they did that, they've got a good chance of that. When we do the flyovers of the Nikola site, we can see outside frames and cabs stored outside, and they've got half the cabs that they need right now to get to that production goal. They've got almost 130 cabs outside. They've produced at least 50 going into quarter three, plus what they've already produced this month, and plus what they have inside the factory. They may have all the cabs that they need already to get to the 300, but I also have heard that there's more cabs on the way. So hopefully there are. They've got frames out in the yard. Their big thing is going to be battery packs, and I imagine that's going to be the same thing for Lucid. And even though Nikola is at 3 to 500 times the fact that they need about 10 times the amount of batteries that a Lucid might need, maybe not 10, maybe like 7 times, 6 or 7 times. So yeah, they can't produce as many trucks with the same battery supply, but Lucid needs to get the batteries in and whatever else is holding them up. Nikola has the advantage in the sense that a lot of the parts that they need are standard parts that come on an Iveco truck for things like for the cab, even though there's customization in there with Nikola logos and things like that. Um, a lot of the stuff that they need is already being made by Iveco. So that's great for them. So with Lucid, every part that they need is a custom part, except for maybe bolts and maybe fasteners. Everything that they have to get from the suppliers is going to be just for Lucid. So that makes it a little bit harder because you're doing that on a scale of 12 to 14,000 vehicles.
Yeah,
So
but you're right. I think if they do actually, this quarter is very important. That they have to reiterate that if this is the quarter, if they are going to cut it, like they have to cut it now. They can't do it Q3, Q4. That's going to be opening themselves up to possibly more lawsuits, and definitely don't need that. Another kind of 2021 scenario. So yeah, no, I agree. That's very important that they reiterate that.
yeah, so that's my big thing, and that's what I want to hear as an investor. Unless, of course, there was some massive loss of money, something that was higher than expected. But I don't foresee that. They're going to have a lot of capex spending because, well, look what they're doing. So
Yeah.
the factory in Saudi Arabia, I'd like an update on that. Maybe some pictures. Someone had sent me a couple pictures a few months ago. They have started construction there. That obviously is going to eat into their financials a bit, but it's also something that they find necessary to do. So, like to see an update on that. Um, and what else would I like to see? Uh, well, there's probably some other things, but one thing I wanted to talk to you about was the EV tax credit because there's concern. And I looked this up, and I know we briefly talked about it in our prep that the EV tax credit going into next year with the new one that looks like it's going to probably get passed does not, and it limits sedans to about $55,000. It SUVs go up to 80,000 ish. I don't remember the exact numbers. Then of course there's income uh, variables. You can only have so much income, but the Lucid Air is going to be ejected from all that. And so anyone ordering, it looks like, after I looked it up a little bit, I found that if you order after January or December 31st of this year, you're not going to be grandfathered in. If you've ordered now, you can be grandfathered in for the $7,500 tax rebate, which I assume is going to remain non-refundable. It's going to be taken off your taxes, but you can still get it next year and apply it to next year's taxes. But if you order a Lucid Air after the new year, it's not going to be the tax rebate's not going to be available because the Lucid Air, being a sedan, is going to be priced too high. So anything that was I ordered a Pure this year, if it's delivered next year, I will still be able to use the tax credit for this year or for this order. I'll probably be able to use it next year. So that's good, but Lucid is going to lose that. Rivian is probably going to lose it also. The pickup trucks are capped the same as SUVs. I think about $80,000 in the Rivian's MSRP. And there's also still the question, speaking of MSRP, of base price versus final MSRP. If the base price of, let's say, a Model Y is going to be, it will fall under the 80,000, but if you add FSD, you could end up going over the 80,000. Is that your MSRP or is it going to be the base price? Some of those things haven't been settled yet. So
Yeah.
it may be something like you want to order FSD after, but first let's just find out how it's going to be. But it's great that the car companies are back on an even playing field where they're all going to be eligible for it unless it costs too much. So
Yeah, I think it's very oriented towards Tesla. Obviously, not like Tesla, as big as they are, need any additional handicap, if you want to call it that. But yeah, especially how it's oriented, and technically, even like from my understanding as well, they took out that 200,000 cap as far as overall vehicles. So obviously, Tesla was at that cap. So with that limited or eliminated, I should say, and most of their vehicles within the kind of criteria, like they're going to benefit significantly.
um,
Um,
I might disagree with you on that one.
oh
Uh,
yeah,
well, first, the Model 3 short range qualifies. eh, Only the short range because it's a sedan. The Model Y performance, long range, and short range will all qualify, unless, of course, you get FSD, and that's the MSRP. The Model S,
yeah,
the Model X, they don't qualify at all. So four of their models qualify, and possibly not. It just depending on whether options are going to count. So we'll have to wait and see on that. The Cybertruck will not count. That will be, well, we don't know where the pricing is. If the price is $80,000 for a pickup truck, the dual motor, and we don't know where the price is going to be at this point. The dual motor might qualify. So I don't necessarily think that it helps Tesla that much. Tesla doesn't have a an, a problem with getting orders. And that's one of the negative things about this is people are like, well, why are you incentivizing people to buy electric cars when it's not a demand problem. There's so much demand for electric cars right now. There's a supply problem. So you're going to have people right now. Now, this this program is going to last 10 years, but right now there is not a huge problem. There's also mineral content in the batteries. That is also another factor, and we don't know where everybody stands on this and how much of these minerals are coming from China. If Tesla's vehicles are supplied by minerals that come from China, then they're going to get disqualified, or they can get disqualified, and that number changes every year. It goes up. You have to have a higher percentage of North America sourced or a country with a free trade agreement. There's a lot of details in this. They've really made it more complex than it ever needs to be, but that's what the government does, right?
yeah, usually.
Yeah. So,
Well, I guess just a little bit of context. The reason why I guess I'm saying it's very beneficial towards, for instance, Tesla versus in Lucid's case, with a lot of their vehicles not really essentially qualifying potentially. I remember in 2018, Tesla stock dropped roughly about 30%, give or take, because of Tesla not but about their tax credit at the time, or rebate, I think it was, um, potentially getting eliminated. And at that stage, Tesla wasn't profitable. And in essence, they were saying that they needed that. They needed that to gain faster profitability and blah, 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 or else they won't be able to kind of upkeep with their debt. They went on or Elon went on a huge tangent. And I think in Lucid's case, it goes to show that like it's beneficial, and it will definitely help them. But obviously, with this new proposal, like they are potentially at a disadvantage, and especially in starting a company, that's not what you need to hear or want to hear. My
oh
own 2 cents.
no, I agree with that aspect of it. I think it hurts Lucid, but I don't think it's going to help Tesla that much.
Oh, yeah, yeah, you're right.
It,
I
it,
guess yeah.
yeah. I mean, if demand is increased for the Teslas? What's going to end up happening is they're going to raise the price of the Teslas again, and because of the supply and the demand is so high. The supply, they're pumping out every possible car that they can. It's not like they're holding back and they're trying to increase production. So yeah, that does help Tesla, and but it also hurts in the sense that if prices end up getting raised, and
Yeah.
that is just something we're going to have to see how that plays out. But right now, you order a Model Y and you're a long range, you're waiting a year. And when I ordered my Model Y in February of 21, I got it within 3 weeks. and I thought that was a long wait because I've never waited for a car in my life.
Yeah.
I've always bought something at a dealership. So yeah, waiting 3 weeks was horrible for me. But now it's over a year. Now, of course, Tesla is handling this the way that they should, and this way, same way Lucid is, and the higher option cars are going out first. So if you order a performance, you can get that down to a month or two.
Yeah.
It's more profit for them. It just makes sense for them to push that out as fast as possible. So, but let's just hope that the prices don't go up because of
Yeah.
this. But it's very possible also. And there's also an incentive for used cars, for used EVs. So that's not going to help Lucid in any way. It's not going to help Tesla or any of the manufacturers. It'll help some people who are trying to get into a car. And all of those cars that it will help are Chevy Bolts, Nissan Leafs, because I think the cars have to be under $25,000.
Oh,
And you can't find a Tesla, a Mach-E, a Polestar, uh, Ionic 5. You can't find any of those under $25,000. The only cars that are going to be that cheap. Maybe a Kia Niro, maybe, uh, but it's going to be anyone looking for a Bolt or a Leaf,
yeah.
unfortunately. So
Well, one thing actually about since you to kind of go off topic a little bit, when you talked about production, there was one thing I was wanting to parse, like possibly hear from Q2 earnings as far as what their guidance or risks that they underwent. But since you really monitor kind of production, there was a blog that was done about stoppage. Did you see anything to validate about a potential stoppage at the app facility?
I really didn't. And this was supposed to have happened like about a week ago. Um, I, it does seem like about a week ago that the number of cars uh, became a little bit higher. I haven't been counting the cars every day. It became very tedious when we were over 200 cars. But I did see a little increase in the amount of cars, and right now they're not maxed out, but there's a lot of cars there. But the cars that have covers on them, that has increased, and I've been making the assumption now, which is probably a stupid thing to do because I've assumed the wrong thing about Lucid cars before, is any of the ones in the waiting area that are covered are probably ready to ship. They're covering them and then they're putting them on the bottom part of the parking lot. When I say bottom, it's actually the north side of the parking lot, but from our vantage point, it's the bottom. And they do keep them separated. We've seen cars at the top get covered, but then they seem to get moved down or disappear by the next flyover. So we're assuming that, going back to supplier issues, that these cars may have been missing either parts. We know that some of them were missing trim at some point. We saw that they were added on at a later time. But we're assuming that these cars are just not missing, whether it could be anything from a software update to a piece of trim. Who knows? Maybe it's just 3 bolts or 3 nuts, but they're not ready to go. And it seems like once they get the white covers, they get moved to the bottom of the lot, and that's where they end up getting on the car haulers and being taken away. So I can't say that I saw anything that makes me go, yeah, what's going on here? Except, what people are talking about online, where a couple people said that they were told by their their sales rep, that there was a hold on deliveries. And at the same time, there was people saying, I live by the factory and I see car haulers coming out of there every day with 8 cars on each car hauler. So it's the internet. You're going to get mixed signals. You're going to get things that just aren't accurate. Uh, for all you know, I could have made everything up that I just said. It's the internet. But
Yeah, that's
I,
true.
I'm not. I'm
And it's
not
hard to say, right?
anonymous. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah, it's
anonymous, but a lot of people are. So
yeah, yeah. And I guess you're right about technically not everyone uses the internet too, and to especially voice their when they're getting a vehicle or
hmm
updates, right? So
yeah,
just maybe coincidence.
right. You don't see that on forums all the time. People who just don't care. They don't want to be on it. They're not that interested. They ordered it. They may have forgotten about it. Oh yeah, my car's coming in, but they don't track it like you might or I might. We've got we're tied to it by investments, and we just have an interest in it. It's like when I ordered my wife's Model S that took 5 months to come in. About once a month, she'd be like, "What's the status on that?" And I tell her, and she'd go, "Okay." And she's not going to scour the internet to see where they are, where they're at on VIN numbers and things like that. She doesn't care that much, and a lot of people are
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
If everybody cared, then we'd both have about 1 million subs and a lot of views.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, no, and I think you're right as well. Hopefully, it's just the increase in vehicles that you've been seeing. It's just more of a overall increase in like a ramp up of vehicles. So you never know.
Yeah, that's obviously what we're all hoping for. It's obviously gonna still get better after quarter three, but we just hope to hear the the restating of the goals of the production goals. That's my big thing. Uh, what do you think? You think Lucid is going to have any workforce cuts? Because that's been floated around with Tesla and Rivian. So what do you think?
Yeah, you know what? Especially, it's hard because I think in general, Lucid has gone through a lot of hiring sprees. I believe two severe, pretty substantial ones. So it's fair to say that they may have hired some unnecessary positions. Because I think, especially potentially, even not saying that there is or is not going to be a recession, but as a CEO, you need to make the risk determination if a potential recession was to occur. You need to be prepared for that. And I think layoffs is typically the one of the first things that a company would do, justifiably at least. Um, I think coming from an investor standpoint, if that is the case, it shows an underlying weakness that could be perceived as that, even though that might not be true. But obviously, that's how sometimes the market acts a little bit irrational. Um, I wouldn't like for them to see that initially, at least, until they start to ramp up, and then they maybe come out with some special PR justifying it and explaining it, whatever it might be. I don't know.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
So my take on the layoffs, I think it's a good opportunity with these companies that want to get rid of some of their lower performing employees and maybe some unnecessary positions. The first thing that companies do when there is a recession looming, or if we are actually in one, which the numbers say that we officially are, is start making small cuts of your riffraff. I worked for a major manufacturer in the cell phone business, and years ago, they brought us in to pick our subordinates out of and put them in a 9 square, and one being the best, 9 being the worst. We ranked all of the employees, and the people that were in that 9 box, they were let go shortly after that. It's just a ranking, and the first thing you're going to do is you're going to get rid of your unnecessary people or the people who aren't cutting their weight. So it's an opportunity to get rid of people that aren't cutting their weight and some unnecessary positions. And they're going to have to pay out these people because there are federal laws. If you lay off a certain amount of people, I think it's 50. It's either 50 or 500, but I think it's 50. You have to give them a severance package. So now's the opportunity to start doing that. Get rid of those people. If things get worse down the line, the severance packages will end up getting better. They'll ask for volunteers, but they're not going to offer it to these people in the first round. It's taking advantage of an opportunity to get rid of people that maybe just aren't cutting it. And there's always those people in large companies that are not doing their fair share of the work, taking a lot of breaks, and not meeting their goals and things like that. So it's going to happen. Whether or not it happens at Lucid, I don't know. But like I say, it's a good opportunity to maybe move on with some people. So
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, during a downtrend, that's usually the best time just to pump out all your negative news. It usually gets brushed under the rug for the most part. It's nothing I hate more than and unfortunately, it did happen a lot in Lucid's case during that Q2, is when we were just panic mode. The market was just selling off, and yeah, that's when Saudi Arabia news comes out. That's when so much news comes out, and all very much positive, which would have caused the stock to go up significantly. But nope, just gets brushed under the rug.
Yeah.
But you're right.
All right. So what else do we have to talk about? Do we have anything else? We were going to talk about the tent. Do you have any idea what's underneath that tent? Because I don't.
I would ideally like to have the $25,000 vehicle and have a nice Easter egg, but
Oh,
generally,
that would be
yeah.
nice. It would be nice to see a gravity in there, but I think that's too big for like a prototype. I don't think they need that much room. But if they did, it's also air conditioned. So, if they were testing a gravity in the heat, well, they got a lot of air conditioners on that building. So that's definitely not it. By the way, the gravity at the price point that they've talked about would initially qualify for the tax rebate next year.
Oh, really?
Because it's an SUV, wasn't it supposed to be around 80?
Uh, from what I've seen, I saw 90 plus, but I could have
Oh,
been wrong. Maybe
okay.
I haven't really.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no. I guess nobody's really done articles ever since they said they pushed it back. People just dropped talking about the gravity for some reason. But from my understanding, it was 90, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I could be wrong too. Well, I'm not. I don't forget about the gravity because that's what this building is mostly for. Even though they're going to be able to expand their production of the air in this building, the idea is for the gravity. You ever get a look at the south end of the property? There's an area that's supposed to be a parking lot. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I don't know if you've caught the video, but there's a parking lot on the south end that I think is supposed to be like 1,200 parking spots, and they have car hauler spots lined out also. So that's all going to be a new waiting area for produced cars. So
Oh, nice.
the they've got aspirations of having a lot of cars being produced from this factory to have parking for 1,200, and
That's
it's
pretty good.
clearly for a new car, not an employee parking lot. So it that building's all for the gravity. I haven't forgotten about it, and I won't. But it would be interesting to see where the price point comes in, and it would be interesting also if it's the base price. Is it the base price of the gravity, or the Lucid Air? Let's say the Lucid Air. Say it was a just the base price like of a car, and then everything else is just an option. So GT is not a model, but an option to help qualify other vehicles.
Mhm.
Now I know you can't do that with the Lucid Air because it's a sedan. It's above 55,000. But
Yeah.
say the Gravity is going to have one base price. It's 79,900. Everything above that is an option. The Gravity GT, the Gravity GT Dream, or whatever they want to come up with. But those are all options, so the base price is still under 80.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, you have to adapt, and yeah, it's all about just how you market things. And yeah, if it gets it qualified, it'll incentivize more buyers to jump on board. And if they couple that with all of their other new products that they're trying to do as well about leasing, and it should have a nice, good bump up in revenue eventually.
Yeah, yeah. Did I state my production goals?
Yes, I
Yeah, okay.
believe. Yeah.
All right. I don't remember if I did, but we'll cut this section out if I did. All right. So, unless you got anything more you want to add, I think we're ready to wrap it up. Did you got anything you
Yeah.
wanted to add?
No, I think we pretty much touched on all the necessary points.
Okay, great. All right, well, that's going to be about it. If you guys got any questions or comments for us, go ahead and put it down in the comments below. One of us will answer at some point. I do want to thank all my Patreons and everyone else. If you want to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that like button. Check out Financial Journeys YouTube page also, because he does a lot of Lucid. And what else do you do?
SoFi and some crypto random stuff.
Okay. Well, check out his channel. He's more of the financial guy than I am. I'm just the I Spy guy who just hovers over the plant to see what I can see. But go ahead and give his channel a look. give it a subscribe. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
See ya.